Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome back to the Dean Akers Show. We've changed our format a little bit. We're going to go back to audio for podcasts, and I had a lot of listeners who were doing the videos, and they were talking about download times, and they love listening to me in their car and their commutes. And so I'm going to go back to audio for this, and I'm going to be doing videos as periodically and just post those up on video sites and putting those out on LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff for your use. So right now, I want to talk about doing our podcasts again. And at any rate, this is our 28th show. Today represents our 28th show. I just can't believe that 28 weeks ago we started this, and it's more from the adjunct CEO, which I still do all the time, to Dean Akers, and now I'm at the site Dean at Dean Akers, or my web address Dean at deanakers.com, and then my website is www.deanakers.com. So we've got a lot of viewers or listeners out there that have been reaching out and giving me different thoughts on what we've been talking about and things they need help with. I want to just quickly review that last week's show was really well received, one of our top shows on the customer values. And so listen to episode 27. It, by the way, is a video, and there's some graphics on there. And it talks about how to value customers. I actually had a meeting with a client this week, a new client, and they had a bunch of their people there, and we were just conversing. And they were telling me again how competitive it was and how I just didn't understand the industry. And so I asked them to tell me, like I do in all our shows, how many, what were their biggest customers and what did they do? And they told me, and it happened to be restaurant chains. And they were telling me how competitive it was with the restaurant chains and what they did. And so I just randomly started listing restaurant chains in their area that are based in their area and ask, how are we doing with them and what did they say? And the irony of it was, in the same competitive conversation, every single company I listed, they had never called on. They had never called on. And the companies that we were talking about were as big or bigger than the clients they have, and were right in the exact spot that they worked in. And when they shared to me that, oh, well, they wouldn't use our services or whatever, I said, well, if you've never called on them, I promise you they will never use your services. And if you call on them and one day they decide to change and you're the person that they've been working with, you're going to get the business. So at any rate, today I wanted to really go into leadership, because I've had another bunch of conversations with executives about finding good people. And how do you find good people? And so I'm reminded of some of the things that I've been doing over the years to get good people and to retain good people. And I'll give you my biggest one is my number one recruiters, and your number one recruiters in your company, believe it or not, is your current team. Your current team is the number one recruiter in your company. And somebody goes, well, how do you figure that? Well, it's pretty simple. If you look at the folks that you have in your company, more than likely, they know people that are like them. And if they're good employees or good team members for your company, what's to think that the people that they know aren't of the same type of value system, same quality of people that you have? The answer is they are. So I go and I work with my people and I said, we need to fill these slots. I need your help. I want you to help us grow the company and fill these slots with people like you. Now, somebody goes, that's easy. You put these bounties out. I hear companies go, we give you $100 if you bring somebody in and we hire them and all this other stuff. And we're always trying to bribe our employees on doing good performance and stuff. When we know that, as we've done studies, the number one motivation for employees is a feeling of appreciation. And then number two is a feeling of involvement. And this is after having done thousands and thousands of employee surveys that I do. And no, by the way, if you want an employee survey done of your team, just reach out to info@deanakers.com or help@deanakers.com, and we'll send you this thing, and then we'll even score it out for you that tells you the cultural feel for your team and how they feel about different things like being appreciated, money, all that. And so to date, appreciation is the number one of thousands I've done. The other one is being involved, feeling heard. So the best recruiters out there are, again, who? You're right, your own teams. And when you have your own team, you want to ask them, you want to engage them. You want to say, how can I find somebody like you? And they hang out at the same places. So you definitely want to do that. Why does appreciation drive that? I got to tell you a story about a company that I had years ago. And I had an individual at one of my locations quit. He was a management person. And my regional persons called and said, so-and-so quit. And, he's going to work for the competitor for more money. And I went, oh, wow. Well, tell him we love him. He can come back anytime. Again, don't be bitter. Don't sit there and go, oh, if they leave me, they'll never come back. No, congratulate them. If they want to leave for more money and that's more important, then that's great. I have never found that to be the absolute truth. So now I go tell them that. And that night, this particular individual's wife, this is back when we had regular phones, called my home and said so-and-so, her husband, had come home and said that he was leaving our company and going with a competitor for more money. And she called me to ask if he could keep his job and that the family voted and more money wasn't important. Now that would seem like a crazy story, but that isn't the story. So 6-8 months later, I was up in our area where this particular individual was, and when I was doing my Kiss the Baby tour, I had a meeting later or the next morning up in the area. So I was going around visiting my locations, and the last location was this individual's location. So we're yucking it up, talking and meeting, talking to all the team members and everything. And at the end of the thing, he goes, hey, we're closed down. You want to come by the house and have a quick beer? Well, I was staying up there, so I said, sure, I'll come by and see your wife and say hello, and I'd be honored to. So we head over to his house, follow him over to his house. We get to his house, and everybody hugged his wife, and we're all like, yeah, how's everything? And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. She took me into the living room, sat me in a chair, or told me to sit down. We'd be all getting together. She was going to go get the beer for me, and he was getting something. And on their coffee table, this is a true story, by the way, on their coffee table, in a frame, was one of my notes that I had written him a year ago, and it was in a frame. It was a note. Just a note, a handwritten note that I had sent to his home that was so valuable to them as a family, a trophy, I would assume, that they even took the time and effort to put it in a frame, and it was sitting on their coffee table as an accolade to him for his family. And I sat there and I went, OMG. That was a defining moment for me. I had always believed in reaching out to my teams. I had always believed in, quote, showing them the love and being a humble leader. But this just drove it home. So I know that caring about your people is not just saying it in a newsletter. Caring about your people is not standing up at a podium telling everybody you care. Caring about your people is showing them. And when you show them you care, genuinely show them you care, extraordinarily show them that you care, you'll have crazy, crazy cool results. And with them as your recruiter tool, your recruiting teams out there, you'll have infinitely great team members to get for the rest of your business career. So I hope this helps you today. We appreciate everybody tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you or letting you listen next week. So this is Dean Akers. I'm out.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.